Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Q&A session about the brand unification that is happening during this week. Today, we have Kadan with us, which is our CTO, and Tony, which is our Chief Operating Officer, and they will share some insights about the brand unification, the reasons of it, why it happened, how it happened, and we'll, of course, answer your questions and the ones that you asked in Discord before and the ones that you can also ask online. So now the stage is for Tony and Kadan, and they will start with the presentation of the brand unification that we're doing now.
I think the community has asked quite a bunch of questions, and there were like some concerns, some inputs. I think also like some proposals to a certain degree regarding the branding, regarding the actual naming. We internally, our teams crafted kind of like a little list or register like of a couple of questions around like the branding unification and, around like the motivation, the inspiration and the reasoning. So I'll take it starting with the first one. And we were asked like, how did we or how did you decide to take this step, right? Like, I think I got that cue right, because if you ask me how did you do it, then I'd say that it was technically was done in cooperation with community core team members, everyone that we, but also like the wider team and the community would consider a stakeholder in this project. And we can say and really state that at the end of the day, we ran a vote like decision process, and that was agreed to and unanimously. Yeah, if I remember correctly, there wasn't one opposing voice. So there was a very like strong backup within the team specifically. This has been something, right? And now again, I took this question as the how did we decide, like to take this step. When you ask me like about the whys, I think like the list, of potential benefits, but then also a few downsides, right, might be like quite long. And I'd say it all boils down that we've been like diluting, like literally everything within our org over the last couple of years. Building separate brand requires just every effort you have within a project, it kind of doubles up, right? Like this sub product or a sub brand or a brand or whatever like you call it, and whatever you spin up, it's gotta like require key focus from key members of the team. And I think sometimes even to a certain degree you get like this split where it almost feels like you have different teams, like basically working like within the org or the project. So this unification process, and we'll dive, like a little deeper here during like this presentation and this, I guess it's more like a conversation or a Q&A like, setup, where we probably like, are asking the questions and like giving the answers at the same time, but it doesn't matter, right? So yeah, I mean, this is like from my perspective, it really like boils down like to this, and I'll let like Tony add, a few things as to you, possibly to the, like the key, like motivation and.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I turned on video like to make it more like a presentation, so I present myself at least. So yeah, hello everyone at first, and yeah, happy to see everyone who joined it. So yeah, it's kind of said like the primary motivation, or one of like the main reasons like behind this brand unification and products renaming, is that like in a course there's a nature of atomic DEX is quite multifaceted, and it's not limited to being just a DEX, but it's at first it's a wallet like which using like a DEX is one of the main like key features or main features, killing features. But like you have this DEX in name, and like it's in everything, like Atomic DEX API, Atomic DEX GUIs, and people thinking it's one more DEX, but they downloading it, installing it, and they see wallet like and it might create a confusion. And moreover, like there was always like some naming confusion. We were aware of that. Like there's a product named Atomic Wallet, which is actually very similar to what we do. Like it's a wallet, and like naming is very similar, and many people like always confused Atomic DEX with Atomic Wallet, but for sure like creating complications like in many marketing regards, like a SEO and etc. And especially like as you know, like there was this security incident with Atomic Wallet, like let's call it this way, just recently, and yeah, it added motivation to us as well, like to speed it up and do this transition faster. In general, like as Kadan already said, like maintaining two distinct brands, it imposes a heavier resources demand. You need to do everything twice, like have to maintain Komodo platform related stuff, you have to maintain Atomic DEX related stuff, like and yeah, it's much more difficult just so we want to simplify things. And one more like a reason which is also super important is our vision is to foster like a ecosystem centered around the Komodo brand and KMD coin, because Komodo brand it got power, it got reputation, because just recently we celebrated 6th birthday of Komodo blockchain. So many people like know what Komodo is, and but it's always like complicated to explain, like even on conferences, like events that we are doing Atomic DEX, but do you know like this old like a KMD coin, like we are these guys, like we're doing that right now. It's creating complications, and yeah, that's making like a brandification a strategic move, like to connect these pieces together, and it's a tribute to our core values and our community, like to unify it as a Komodo ecosystem.
Great, well said and well wrapped up. Thank you for that addition, Tony. So to summarize it, right? I mean, like the how, it's really like a well, based process on like, democratic like principles, and like we involved community as well as like key shareholders, and really wraps up like to the whole team. It sums up like to utilizing 100% of the team. We had like dedicated brainstorming sessions, etc., to answer the how. To answer the why, Tony stated few, like important like factors, myself as well. But I really believe like the list of actual reasons, the core motivation, it's much longer, right? At the end of the day, kind of like, taking the core decision to unify our brands actually also meant we are engaging with this core topic of like of an actual branding strategy, something that wasn't in place really, like those who knew us like before. I mean, we had a quite probably unique, interesting, and overly complex way of kind of like defining and structuring our brand. Those who know us like from the early days after like the supernet spin-off times, there were dozens, like possibly like around 100, like of different like product names and ideas. Everyone had its own brand, there were own logos. There was even like an idea, an early vision of having like multiple projects run independently but tied into each other. But it turned things like very complex, and also like from these core elements of a branding strategy. And there was a lot of confusion. That was like one of the points, like Tony also like mentioned. So the community and the team, they've also like asked, right, what is the brand unification about, or more generally, expressed, what's Komodo's like current, like a strategy. And just like as aforementioned, I'd really say Komodo didn't have a real, overarching like branding strategy. There were multiple smaller like strategies in regards like to marketing and certain, like events, campaigns, and ideas, but not a fully suited branding, strategy. This is something we've started like working on actively, over the last months and over the last year. I think where we realized, first of all, we need like to really tie everything like into Komodo, and it's like the best for Komodo and for us. And we figured it's been like long overdue. And like second all here, like is that the identity aspect of our project, of Komodo platform, and like Tony said, and like others say, we have a long set like reputation. We're well known in the industry. We've tried to build separate brands not related to Komodo at all, and then trying to force end users in understanding, hey, wait, this is something Komodo made. I mean, why not like tag it Komodo in the first place or call it like Komodo in the first place? If you like try to sell us something, but in the end you're trying to tell us, look, this is like Komodo, right? Like all like these, different like items, and this effort is huge, right? The strategy itself. I mean, the branding strategy around the unification, it's like it was a multiple months like cross collaboration effort, including the entire team. A new built out creative department that's going to like focus on the visual aspect of the branding identity, corporate design, and all these things. And so you see, this is like really a very like complex, like undertaking, and it's a comprehensive one. It's requiring like a lot of resources. And what it is essentially and finally about is unifying really everything like within our org. It starts like with the naming, the branding perspective, the technological layers, right? Unifying them into one kind of like fully set and well structured software suite or development kit, together with the end user product suite, and having everything like within one clean, sane structure tied to each other. We're even discussing and researching, the paths and possibilities into a network unification. So the brand unification, and even though it's, essentially focusing around the brand, there is much more. This is not just kind of like, okay, we put everything into like Komodo. I mean, Tony can add just like, from a marketing creative department perspective, there's a lot happening, like in regards to brand unification. So when you ask me as the tech head, okay, what is the brand unification about? I'll tell you about these aspects of unifying the tech stacks and the naming and all these things. But like from a marketing perspective, what does it mean to unify the different marketing channels, the different social media channels, etc., etc.? And yeah, Tony sure can like add something like to this, but it's a huge undertaking and very complex like effort. Yeah.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, it's a challenge. Like, and right now, like, one of the main challenges, like, for marketing, the main, like, as you've seen, like, it's probably seen for now, like, we kept AtomicDex.io website, but the plan is like is to deprecate it quite soon and move everything like under Komodo platform website, under Komodo umbrella. But it's quite challenging, like, because this AtomicDex.io landing page, it was like focused on customers, like customers of AtomicDex GUI. But Komodo platform website, it's more tricky because we have like a product which is Komodo DeFi framework, which is targeted on developers. We have like end users applications, and there are many things. And right now we are working on strategy on how to best like communicate it, how to best deliver it, and yeah, what should be the optimal strategy on that. And in social media as well, like deprecating like AtomicDex Twitter account, like, and all other like social media accounts to move everything under Komodo. And it's quite logical because right now for AtomicDex Twitter, like in AtomicDex Twitter, it's around like 8K followers, and Komodo, it got like over 100K followers. So yeah, we can reach much more people right now with the news about Komodo Wallet, Komodo Dex, and Komodo DeFi framework, and all our tech. So yeah, we are adjusting focus this way. But yeah, really, like a website will be our like main focus for upcoming quarter, because current Komodo platform.com website is outdated. It needs some love. It needs refreshment. Whole visual representation of Komodo needs refreshment, because industry changed a lot, and there are like a Web3 realities, and we should be on the edge, and we should highlight the fact that we are like on the edge of technology. And we'll work on that, and with a new build like graphical visual department. I think that's mine, like from marketing perspective.
Nice, great. So we can state that the brand unification was really not just about kind of like like doing this realignment, reorientating, but also actually like setting up an initial branding strategy which we didn't have in place, realigning the whole team, the different departments, making them function together, well aligned towards this like common objective. And then we also just like heard, like from Tony, like, like the different reasons like for it prior to this. And one of the question was what's changing, what has changed, what's happening in regards like to this brand unification. And Tony's just like named a few items related to the PR marketing side of things. From a tech perspective, what's changing essentially is like names, visual assets, and all these things, right? Like so this is something you like face through our like public presence, like within like the industry, the way we're gonna like like structure messaging, the narrative, right? Like it's gonna be all Komodo centric. It's gonna be like around like Komodo platform, and this like new defined technology stack. On marketing perspective, you can expect us like to use the main Komodo platform social media channels. So for example, as opposed to using 2 or 3 or whatever, like Twitter and Reddit and Instagram accounts, we'll use one. We'll basically it's like like you kind of like combine it, right? You're not diluting things. You're basically like pooling them, right? Like, and utilizing this density like in a more efficient like way. That's kind of like core motivation also behind this. So one of the other questions that was asked from our list is, what is like the Komodo SDK, and what are what are the benefits of it, and what's the reason, the purpose of unifying all products under like the Komodo SDK? And I'll take that one, and I'll try to wrap it up like as non-technical as possible, and in layman terms is like, technically, if you look at the different tools within the Komodo ecosystem, and like the tech that we offer as a software provider and a blockchain interoperability provider, you'll actually realize as a developer that already constitutes a SDK per definition, right? Like the different tools and software packages and the different assets, the infrastructure that this software is utilizing, and all these things, it's like accessible, permissionless, it's like trustless, it's like open, and it's free, right? Like it's 100% like open source. So any party, any dev can reutilize like this tech stack. I won't dive too deep into the definition of the Komodo SDK, how we've designed it, but it's very, very simple. We also like refer to it as Komodo 3.0, right? Kind of like from an evolutionary like perspective. But it boils down to having like the different layers that we have today, like atomic DEX, right? Like which became the Komodo Wallet from an end user perspective, and the Komodo DeFi framework, right? Like from a dev perspective. So these two layers are elements, are items like within the SDK. So the SDK at the end of the day, right? Like it provides you all of the technologies we've built, but in a more handy and logical way, as having it like two separated, split up, that also often led and leads to confusion. That's totally like not required. And so looking at like the SDK, you have a fully featured like blockchain interop like development kit. So really what it boils down is you're able like to build a wallet, you're able to build a DEX, you're able to build pretty much like all DeFi use cases on top of like this software, right? Like you decide to which level like you enhance and extend it. If you look at like the core engine, right? Like the DeFi framework, you're actually even able like to extend that layer, right? Like it's built like modular, right? Like it's got like a crate tree, which is all based on 100% open source software. So we're not like hiding kind of like layers that you'll need to run the software, that you actually really have an SDK, but in fact it's all 100% like accessible like for devs. And that's I think the main benefit here is having this like unification. It's a clarification also like for developers, right? And I think this really like the main benefit for me from a dev perspective behind like this unification, as it clarifies a lot of things, and also like from a usability perspective, just like increases the experience like tremendously. Good. Yeah, this is like really like from a tech perspective. One of the questions was also like, what's the Komodo DeFi framework, or what does this consist of? And that's, as aforementioned, one piece within the SDK, within like the Komodo tech stacks, and the Komodo DeFi framework. That's basically the core of the Atomic DEX, the former Atomic DEX API. That's what we build everything on. That's the low-level peer-to-peer standalone DEX and wallet, API layer, which you utilize like to, execute wallet functionalities or DEX slash DeFi functionalities. That's like what the Komodo DeFi framework basically stands for, and that's what it offers. And one final question that we had like stated, and I think we can answer this together, or actually we've already like answered it. Tony has answered it partially, myself as well during the last couple questions. It was, how does this align to our vision, or how does it help us like achieve our goals? And I personally think like it's enhancing like everything in regards to clarity, right? Like to be clear on things, to be aligned, also like within team. I've mentioned it prior, like having these split teams, different products. Sometimes you feel like you're competing against each other internally. So this is all gone. We're not unifying, just a name or a branding or a logo. We're even like unifying the team. We're putting like all with like a laser sharp focus on one like specific item. And at the end, our vision from Komodo, it was always about like unity, right? We as a community need to stand together, as the ecosystem, like same. So I believe also in that regard, it's well aligned like with the vision of Komodo first, right? But yeah, Tony, maybe you want to add, anything else to this?
Yeah, in general, like I'd absolutely agree. And like when there are less things, like a system became less complex, and it's much easier to focus and to deliver things. And yeah, then I think things will be better, like from both like a marketing and interfaces perspective. Because with interfaces, like we have plans like on simplification of this layer as well, like in future. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to it.
Nice. Great. So this was like the initial part of the brand unification presentation. And really, it's been more or less like, like a Q&A session, like prepared together, like with the internal team and community members. We do have, a few community selected like questions.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
sorry to interrupt. That's what I wanted to say, that we also have some questions that Odo got on Discord. And yeah, you guys already given a wholesome overview of the whole brand unification process, but the community also asked some rather curious questions. Some of them are name related with regard to the Komodo wallet. And yeah, I think we can now move to them. And the first one was about how do we stand out from other wallets based on the name that we chose to rename to.
Okay, so I think, like when it's about how do you stand out, like when picking a name, I mean, at the end of the day, I believe we're tying like to our like mothership brand, like to Komodo, right? Like to the core basis foundation. And second here, we pick wallet, right? Like, um, I mean, I'd like to add that in nowadays, perception within the industry of like wallet functionality, there is not much, like standing out. Most of them are called wallet or have the wallet end. Most of them refer to a brand as a prefix, right? Like, so there's multiple examples on how it's like handled. I think how we truly stand out is tying it to our long-term like industry presence. Like we've been around, we've built out, we're kind of like this, chat builder, like if you want to like, look at it like from a meme perspective. And I think that's where we stand out. We don't have a token or coin, like to launch with a huge premium for this wallet. I mean, it's about like the technology. It's about like the core purpose and intention of the tech to empower like users, or service providers with like ultimate financial, put that in brackets, freedom, but it's about like the liberty. And I think that's where we, really stand out. Does the name stand out itself, looking at we're utilizing like a wallet thing? And this was like a question from LPDZ 011. I think not. If looking at it as a plain name, I don't think it that would like stand out, just like using the name wallet. But it clarifies the purpose of the tag, and tying it into Komodo really like highlights on the quality level, the security level, safety level you're to expect, like, with us being like the core provider of this technology, of this like product.
Just a couple of cents from my side. And just a few days ago, to find some inspiration, like regards our website's transformation. I started to check like all the wallets like which are presented markets. We're like rechecking industry, and there are like tens of them. Like counted like almost 100, and then you see like there's some generic name, even like some fancy word, but it's not saying much. And anyway, like you have to look on screenshots, like what's inside, and then you have to look on the vendor, like who's behind this wallet. So the name itself, like it's not that crucial, like part. If it's not like something really bad, in my opinion, and the description, content, and feedback, like always, like what is important. You see like up in market, you look it on reviews. Like if it below than a 4, you will probably not download it. Or if it looks ugly on screenshots, you will not download it. But if the name is like you don't look on names that much. Usually you look on reviews. The thing, so we want to focus on this experience providing and like top features, like a best experience, like a scale at our UX UI design team as well, like and working in this direction.
Yeah, I'll just like go to the next one, which was asked by the same community member, and I think it ties a little bit into like the previous like question that, do you think the name Komodo Wallet reflects its unique function? So what's Komodo's wallet unique function, right? I guess like DEX, or like a DeFi dApp fancy name would possibly like express it better, but we didn't want to like, go that route, because at the end of the day, it's like the wallet. And nowadays we can say, any wallet, even though it's just called wallet, it has more functionalities than just storing like a sets of value, or like sending them, right? I mean, I think it's even like with physical wallets, we moved to a stage where your smartphone case became a wallet. At the same time, you can tie an Apple tag into it, so it becomes a trackable wallet. So it's more than just a wallet, right? And the same applies like to digital wallets. They have functionalities which go well beyond the core like financial aspect in regards to sending, receiving funds, but it's about trading them. It's technically, it's, I guess, like even like to a certain degree, a financial portfolio management system, right? That's kind of, but imagine if we were gonna call it like Komodo, financial portfolio management system, or like some financial, like, I mean, it would like go beyond like, a sane name. We'd need like a, like a new record like subdomain and whatever. So I believe, just tagging it wallet, tying to Komodo, and given Komodo as the prefix, right? Like, and it's really like related to Komodo platform. What we do. Like our strongest, like tech capability is the interoperability stack we built. So you could expect that the flagship tech and the wallet, and knowing Komodo itself anyway, would like have all these core, fundamental features like integrated into this like product. Also, does it like reflect our ideology? We're all about like, financial freedom, and having like this, like permissionless and decentralized, trustless like trading capability is just like an absolute like pre-requirement. So I believe, yes, I believe, just to answer this question, and wrap it up, is that I think, using Komodo, we could use still, atomic DEX. If we stick to that, even having the DEX in it is less expressive and less strong than having Komodo just with this wallet, which maybe sounds a little less, like exciting. But then again, who is trading? Who are the parties really like trading professionally, frequently? it's not like the everyday wallet user, right? Like those that potentially, being attracted by a wallet. So these are also like factors we like took into account. But yeah, I'll leave it there. I hope it answered the question, and I'll go to a one which I found like interesting, by the same person, LPDZ011, is what do you think about an extension of the name like Komodo Xeno Wallet, Komodo Meta Wallet, Komodo Omni Wallet, or Komodo Multi Wallet?
Oh yeah, but in general, like you answered like already this question technically, but personally I like the option Komodo Mega Wallet or like a Komodo Super Wallet. But yeah, like in general, in my opinion, like as I said, like mainly what is important is the content and reviews, people's feedback, reputation, vendor, and the name is secondary. And adding like a third word, it's most in my opinion, it's not giving like a clear benefits, but it's complicating things. Even like when you're writing it, you have to write it longer. When you're googling it, you have to type more, and it's not that catchy probably. And usually it's a single word for brand description, and especially if like a word like such as like a meta wallet and omni wallet, like something abstract, it's not adding like much clarity and not very catchy. Like it got some like a pros for sure, maybe it's like sounds more fancy, but it got cons as well. As a team we decided to choose simplicity and like to make it as simple and as clear as possible, so it's easy to recommend to friend like, hey, let's like do you use Komodo wallet, or imagine you say like do you use like a Komodo multi wallet. It's already a bit like a tricky, and a person like started to think what does it mean multi, is it about multi chains or like a multi vault, like the same with a meta wallet, like start to think, is it connected to metaverse somehow? Then you open it, it's not connected to metaverse, and confusion, like why does it choose word meta? Or maybe like now there's a meta company, right? And Komodo Omni wallet option, like for Omni there is this protocol in which like a stable coin is issuing, and so we choose like an option which is as simple as possible and as clear as possible. But for sure, like in the future, like we might be flexible in this question. Like when industry will change, like when our product will evolve or like a transformation, how like we will adopt as well when it will be needed, as we did right now with this like a shift from Atomic DEX to Komodo Wallet, Komodo SDK, Komodo DeFi framework. So we prefer to be flexible and simple.
Nice. Yeah, I do agree. I just want to like add to this that I also think like over, complicating it or turning it overly complex with additional like prefixes, midfixes, or whatever wouldn't really be beneficial. I was thinking about the visual tag, a visual label like Komodo Wallet, and have a Web3 somewhere just in the visual assets. However, same here, it might like confuse or whatever. And I believe like wallet itself is like super clear. And if you're like into crypto, go ahead.
Yeah, and with the Web3 label, it's too early right now, because right now if you pressing connect wallet on Uniswap, let's say, you will not see Komodo Wallet there, so it's a bit too early, because we are not fully into Web3, but we are working on that, right? And there are plans to have like a browser extension, to add Komodo Wallet into Wallet Connect, and etc., to be really like a Web3. And like I think like on that point we might write it to highlight the fact that we are like a fully Web3 is focus shift. So ultimate goal is like to make our users like eliminate the need to use, let's say, MetaMask, so to be able like to use Komodo Wallet in a platform you like in pool you like a DEX you like, just press connect wallet and choose Komodo Wallet and use it as not just like within our ecosystem, especially how it was in the past, like in Gamma days. It's like very ecosystem specific, but now we are more open like to targeting to be like more closer to industry standards, to be in a game like in that regard, to make like a ultimate DeFi solution, not just solving specific problems, but solving as many problems as possible.
Great wrap up. And yeah, the last questions from LPDZ011 was the renaming is one thing, or the renaming in Komodo into Komodo Wallet is one thing, but when can we expect the first use cases for the KMD coin in ADAX/Komodo Wallet? So, do you want to take that, Tony?
Yeah, I will take that too. Good question. So technically, like first use cases are already there and always been there. Like you can get a fee discount if you're using KMD in trade as a taker. Like it's 10% discount. But yeah, we have to highlight it better in our interfaces for sure, and we'll work on that. And looking ahead, like we're planning to boost KMD's usage, and we plan to implement a system which label it now in roadmap as a Komodo Bear, and yeah, it will be tied to trading index, so more people trade, like a more KMD will be burned. But yeah, for now we're like working on like finalizing this idea, like we work on some proof of concept, and yeah, as soon as we'll have more details, we'll get back with the details to community. But yeah, we're for sure keeping in mind, like especially it just was the first step, like is this brand unification, this move to Komodo brand was the first step of like a more connecting everything in the ecosystem. Because yeah, when KMD coin was created, there was no idea like to connect it or tie it into the DEX ecosystem, and now like it needs to be fixed a bit. And yeah, so I hope it answers the question. So like answer is classical, like as soon we are working on that.
Awesome. Yeah, that was the last one from LPDZ011. Thank you for the questions. Quite active community member. We also have one from STC, and the question was, you changed Atomic DEX API to Komodo DeFi framework. Why didn't you go with Komodo API, right? Like, so the idea here was that, like API really limits kind of like, the scope of capability of the software. Because, like ADAX, the core, really talking about the DeFi framework, right? Like the MM2, the former like barter DEX technology. Then we're looking at something that's, now past the API state. There's actually multiple APIs integrated. Also, it consists of already running like production network. So, like SDK is really like here SDK in the first place, as the overlying like term for the components within it, and framework or the fact that multiple APIs, it's an infrastructure, it's a variety of tool sets, deployment procedures, the fully featured stack within the ADAX core, the former ADAX core is a framework, right? Like, so just referencing to it as an API would be like wrong from a technological perspective. It also would like limit like its, the technological capability. It would be an understatement to say it's an API. One example, what could be called an API or Komodo API? And even then, I think it's probably not like 100%, good. The Komodo core itself, right? Like the ledger, we called it like the Komodo core. That I'd look at more as a kind of like Komodo core network or Komodo core API, because that offers like a core, like API stack, and its purpose is like very clear, and it's limited like to a certain like, like use case. With the DeFi, suite or the framework, it's actually ever growing. We've just like, added the NFT stack. So once we unlock the NFT trading capabilities, we'll actually have a fully featured like NFT DeFi, like API within like the framework, right? So I hope this like makes sense to you. And just like to wrap it up, the why, because you asked why, and I think it's a purely technological, like reason. It's really less related to a branding decision. It was more, okay, what is this software and what would be like a justified, like a naming for it. And I hope this answers the question. And if not, yeah, let us know. And for the community selected questions, this was it. I'll give the mic to Olia for an auto for any like possible live questions or any, like cues that may have arisen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, as Kadan mentioned, we've gone through all the community questions that have been asked on different social media channels. And if you guys now have some questions, then you're free to drop them to the chat and we'll answer them right now online. As far as I see at the moment, there are no questions in the chat, but we can wait a couple of minutes if you guys have some or thought about something else while Kadan and Tony were presenting. So, yeah.
Team members can ask as well. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I refer to everybody who's here in the audience. So if just anyone has any questions, then feel free to drop them. So.
I mean, maybe I just highlighting. There's also been, like kind of community member concerns that were shared, right? Like, and they kind of, partially tie into what we've just, like answered, described, and talked about. But just like to make sure they don't, unheard. We have a community member, and I'm unfortunately not able like to read that name out, right? Like it's using like special symbols, but I'm sure like most people know like who I'm referring to, and that person said like that the name is like too generic, right? Like, and that we're missing, like a noun or an adjective to better describe, like the product and like the brand around the wallet. We've brought this like item up, with these extensions with I think Mega Wallet, Meta Wallet, and Omni Wallet, and all these ideas. And the complexity factor was something which made us consider this the shorter the better in this regard, because it's clear by the fact that it's like provided by Komodo. And LPDZ DZ011 has expressed basically similar concerns. So it boils down to the fact that a few community members kind of sense it's not enough, kind of just wallet. It's way more than wallet, and we fully agree to this, right? 100%. But we believe it's gonna be like super clear and like very clear with the messaging, the positioning, and everything like around it, right? Like I just like wanted to highlight this, and also like once again say a thank you to those who asked questions.
Yeah, so far I can't see any more questions on the chat. So it looks like the presentation and in general the replies to the questions were very wholesome. So yeah, community doesn't have any questions by now, at least in the event stage chat.
Well, I would have one quick question. And this is about the Komodo SDK and kind of expanding on what it means that it kind of unifying all the products on this term Komodo SDK, like under this umbrella, just expanding on what that means and then what kind of capabilities this provides for developers and businesses.
Sure, yeah, I'll take this straight. So I think the best kind of like the best explanation or the best use case or actually showcase for the Komodo SDK is the Komodo Wallet itself. Like the Komodo Wallet, because it's combining the features of the Wallet API. You can like send, receive sets, store them. You can do this like for a lot of like different like protocols and chains. Then you have like the DeFi layer and DeFi API, which allows you like the whole trading part of it, etc., etc. At the same time, we have like Komodo, like enabled like within this technology stack and natively compatible with the DeFi stack, right? Like, so that's the third layer here. Besides wallet and DEX, we also have the core Komodo protocol actually being part, a layer within like this like mighty SDK suite. Then we'll have like to look at the core infrastructure this all is fueled by, the network, the different seed nodes, even the not renode network to a certain degree. This all plays a fundamental role for the SDK, and the Komodo Wallet is a great example of showcasing the capabilities. The Komodo Wallet, allows you to configure, depot, confs, etc., stuff related to the not renode network, right? Just like for those wondering as to how I brought this analogy up, right? Then the GUI stack and layer within it, right? Like we have a fully set like GUI team, like led by Yuri, who they've been working like for years on the Komodo Wallet core technology, right? Like from a UI UX perspective, usability perspective, performance perspective, and all these combined efforts, went into like this kind of like the GUI suite, just like the layer which allows third parties to utilize the SDK to build an own dApp, right? So, and if you look at this SDK, the combination, of the different like tools and infrastructure and technologies, and you wonder what could I do? You can just like look at Komodo Wallet, just as aforementioned, and you'll see like one great example on what you could realize and what you could implement. But this also means you could like build OnlyFans like website that utilizes the DeFi stack, right? Expand on the peer-to-peer stack, integrate the decentralized storage solution, and you'll have something fueled by the Komodo SDK. You could do this also like for any online shopping system. You could do this for any like service you provide like online, right? And this doesn't like necessarily limit it like to the financial world, right? Like so you could technically do this with any type of data, right? Like or hashed data, if you want to put it like that. So I hope, yeah, this kind of like like answers the question as to what can I do, and also what does it mean, kind of like to unify like these technologies. Does this mean that kind of like we create one code base and we throw everything in there? No, we don't. But we ensure that these different layers work seamlessly and smooth with each other without complex overheads, right? Like without, like this clusterfuck, sorry my wording, of instructions and of like multi-layers and setups and requirements. We try to get it to a point where you could actually, now talking like towards the devs here, you'd have pre-set containerized environments where you could like utilize any of the technology stacks. As the SDK is gonna mature, you'll have boilerplate code, for everything, for a wallet, for a DEX, for a web DEX in form of a web dApp, etc., right? Like this is all coming like 100%, and we'll just like continuously like work towards this, like enhanced accessibility, and that means simplification, unification, making things just like future proof and like modern, and I even this year, like just for one example, we've containerized part of like the not renode like infrastructure and setup, and that's been already like a tremendous like enhancement. So at some point there might be even like a Linux distribution with a pre-hardened LP environment, like for those willing or wanting, planning, whatever, like to interact like with the DEX network with players there or on a professional financial setup, etc. Right, so that's kind of like a little bit, from the vision, the idea, and the and I hope it answers the question, Aldo.
Yeah, it does. Thank you for the answer. And I think I will give it back to Olia.
Yeah, okay, so yet again, I checked the chat, and if there are no more questions, I think that it was a great session, very insightful, and we've covered many questions and presented the brand unification as is in a very wholesome way. We'll also upload the recording of it to YouTube so that everyone else who couldn't participate could also see it and get some insights about the process and the reasons, and yet again about all the interesting questions that the community also asked. And thank you everyone who was listening. Thank you Kadan, Tony, and Odo for being here, talking, sharing insights, and helping me moderate. That was a great thing. That was a great experience and a great session that we can conclude this way.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you to the listeners, to the team, Tony. Yeah, great session. Everyone, Otto, Thanks for the preps. Thanks to the team, core team, GUI team, everyone. Without you, we wouldn't have anything to talk about right now. We'd be just sitting here, clapping like the Duracell rabbits. But yeah, no, great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the wrap up, and yeah, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
great day.